It's been a little while since I've last had a look at a game from the man right over here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Statistically, according to a League leg, he's currently the highest ranked Protoss player in the world, and he has been for quite some time. But I've been very busy casting games from, for example, the StarCraft 2 World Championships, and he decided to, as a full rock star, I suppose, he decided to decline his qualification for that particular event. So I haven't really been casting him nearly as much as I probably should have. But spotting right here in the bottom left-hand corner, playing with the red Protoss pieces, we have none other than MaxPax. His opponent, in the opposite corner, joined by the little polar bear, we have the new world champion of StarCraft 2. We're looking at none other than Clem's main base. Alrighty, now they recently played 3 games during the World Team League, so we're gonna have a look at all 3 of them and see exactly what has gone down. MaxPax hasn't really been losing to anybody, and there's almost a little bit of a theme here, because I can say the same thing about, for example, Cyril and about a few other players out there too, but MaxPax hasn't really been losing to anybody other than Clem. Yeah, it's kind of rough. Cyril seems to have the exact same issue. Cyril is dominating everybody except Clem. Clem seems to be on another level right now. Just such smooth execution on everything that he does. I'm not exactly sure how he's changed it, but I just don't see any weakness anymore. He seems to be playing, better than he ever has before. I think that is an absolute no-brainer, but he understands the maps really good. He understands exactly when he needs to transition. He used to have certain weaknesses in different matchups, but right now I'm liking his TVT, I'm liking his Terran versus Protoss, his Terran versus Zerg. There really isn't anything to criticize when it comes to Clem's performance right now. He's not playing very cheesy, yet not predictably, right? He's going for a lot of macro-focused builds, and he's very good at, when the opponents go into a strange strategy, he's very good at guiding the game back towards what he's comfortable with and then transitioning at the correct times. And obviously he's all of that doing, well, he's doing all of that in real time, which is what makes it so very impressive. If this was chess, I mean, it would still be impressive, of course, but just doing all of it in real time on different sizes of boards, right? Different chess-sized boards, it's... Wait, chess-sized boards? Anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. It is very impressive. Clem just seems to be on another level right now, and I've been loving watching his games. Gets a single little probie here, not a bad beginning, and it'll be a Stargate opener for MaxPax. So broadly speaking, in this matchup, of course, we have 2 different ways to open up as Protoss against Terran. Either you're gonna go Twilight Council, so Twilight Council into Blink, very, very popular. You can also, of course, go into Stargate. Now, there are a few different flavors when it comes to the different types of follow-ups, right? You can go, for example, Mass Phoenix, although that's very unpopular at the moment. You can pull it off, right? You can go, like, Mass Phoenix in my mind is just continuous Phoenix production. We see that every once in a while. Usually, we see at least a couple of them, or maybe an Oracle or 2, sometimes 3. But most of the time, all the roads do still lead towards the Twilight Council. A little bit later. ROBO facility, of course, also has its place. Now, what is it going to be? It will be Phoenixes. Okay. I've always been a fan of Mass Phoenix styles. There used to be a time in StarCraft 2 where players would even put down a second Stargate, specifically against Zerg, and they would just pump out a gajillion of those bad boys. You can just produce, consistently out of one Stargate, though, and still get a very sufficient amount. One of the nice things about opening up Phoenixes as Protoss is that if you control everything perfectly, right, you shouldn't really be taking a whole lot of early game damage. Now, he has already lost 5 probes, a little bit more than he's hoping for, but moving forward, there really shouldn't be a lot of damage that Clem can do, assuming MaxPax micros well. So usually it is going to be then Phoenixes into, what are they called? Colossi. I've played this game before. Phoenixes into Colossi, very, very strong, but again, you need to make sure that you micro everything correctly. You can't really be attacked very easily here by the Terran, so for example, Banshees should get shut down. Widowmine drops are relatively easy to counter. It's just that it's really hard to actually deal a follow-up attack, right? You can maybe lift off a couple of workers, and you can maybe lift up a siege tank or 2, but the Phoenixes themselves are not very good at closing out the game directly. Now, it is still going to be Banshee cloaking, and Clem, despite knowing it's Phoenixes, is still going to go and, double down on the Banshee production. At this point, the little green light right there will have been spotted as well, and immediately that's going to cause these units to go back home. Banshee, though, has already arrived. There is a chrono right now on that ROBO facility, and that is to, try and get that observer out ASAP. How many workers will go down? A little bit of mistargeting right here by Clem. does still finish the job. Gets 4 workers. 5 maybe? 6 would be amazing. Yeah, he gets it. And then in the meantime, we have a bit of an army moving through the center of the map as well. Clem did see the timing of the Robo Bay. He knows when MaxPax is going to be able to go into the Colossi. For now, honestly, this is looking really comfortable here for Clem. Yeah. MaxPax at this point sees the move out and decides to go into a Immortal as well. But there's still no third base. And even though this fake move out here from Clem may look a little bit weird, it's effectively delaying the third base from MaxPax for a long time, because MaxPax needs to be prepared. Now another Banshee does fly into the natural expansion, gets 2 additional probes, maybe a third. Yeah, does get a third as well. We're finally getting some counter damage though, out on the battlefield too. 7 SCVs go down just like that. Okay, now it's about time we start moving on over though to another base. Yeah. 6 minutes into the game is relatively late. But we should be seeing a Nexus here momentarily. There is no third command center yet for Clem, who will probably be starting one of those up here in just a moment too. Stimpack and combat shields are relatively late. +1 infantry attacks also needs to be fired up here soon. That is usually the time at which Terran is going to be able to go for a proper attack, when those 3 upgrades finish up. Yeah, so despite dealing quite a bit of early game damage, 7 SCVs on the back of it is definitely not bad. And I mean, not a single Phoenix has actually gone down. One of the most difficult parts is keeping these units alive, because every single time that Terran moves out, you can use them to pick up siege tanks. And obviously with the siege tanks taken out of the equation, even if it's just temporarily, you can still deal a lot more damage with the Colossi. Because without the siege tank protection, those Marines, they melt very, very quickly. Okay. So this upgrade is actually a little late. Clem should have started that up a little bit sooner, but he was very concerned trying to deal with those Phoenixes. Because another thing that the Phoenixes are good at is dealing damage, picking up reinforcing units, for example, and then still being home in time to defend. Any delay here is big, because the clock is ticking for the extended thermal lens upgrade. This upgrade makes the game a whole lot easier. You know what, I was saying earlier that we haven't seen a ton of mass Phoenix plays lately. It seems like, well, Twilight Council is a little bit more popular. This is as close to mass Phoenix as we're ever going to get. At least in this particular matchup. Brilliant defense here from MaxPax. Shield batteries are being set up. Siege tank is, yeah, nice and all, but there's absolutely zero reason here for MaxPax, okay, to move further forward than that. Don't fight into a siege tough Terran position. There's a couple of Widow Mines. There's Widow Mines hiding underneath. Lovely move right there by Clem. Literally parking his infantry. Yeah, they're serving as bait. Parking his infantry on top of a bunch of mines. I mean, it's a cool move. Unless you're those Marines. Then it's, yeah, probably kind of rough. Detection or not, if the Marines are parked right on top of the mines, obviously you can't see them. Yeah, and this is MaxPax controlling the game in a very different way than what I've seen from the other Protoss players, right? So I've been casting quite a bit of PvT. If you look at what the other, especially the Korean Protoss are doing, they're just playing it very differently. A lot more blinky boys, a lot more aggression in general. This is clean. Very well done here by Max. Other than the early game probes, like 14 probes is more than you should be losing, I believe. But, I mean, it's been some committed aggression as well from Clem. Yeah, you can see what makes this guy so good, right? So, ultimately, though, this game will have to be decided with actual army units, right? Not to, you know, undersell the Phoenixes, but I think they're starting to fade away right now. What we really also do need, though, for Protoss is a 4th base, and we probably needed it a couple of minutes ago, because while this is all going on, Clem's economy is not really hindered very much at all, right? He lost a bunch of SCVs, but his income has been totally fine, and he's just been massing up a really solid army. So, we've got ourselves a whole load of bio upgrades. Well, at the very least, as far as the Stimpack and the combat shields go, right? And we have also the concussive shells. The actual NG Bay upgrades are relatively late. You see that Clem is moving around the map very conservatively. I think he can actually commit a little bit more. This is right before, though, Protoss is hitting the big gateway explosion too. So, charge is coming up, +1 is going to finish up eventually as well. Now the 4th base has been planted. I'm assuming Clem is going to try and at the very least deny that. Everybody's favorite unit is coming out. There it is. Check under your beds at night. That might be a ghost. Actually, you can't see those, I guess. They would be cloaked. Well, yeah, it kind of sucks. Maybe there are ghosts under your bed. You just can't see them. What if it's Nova? No, actually. No. Anyways, this is a very laid-back game here from both players, to be honest. Neither of them is really committing all too much. Ultimately, though, Clem is just building up a huge army, and now he has ghosts in the mix. Now, ghosts are amazing against, well, everything. Right? They're really good at killing the shields on, for example, zealots. We don't currently have a lot of zealots. Only 6 of them in the mix. That are being worked in right now in the main base, too, but the zealots will certainly be a big part of the Protoss army here momentarily, and Clem is going to be able to EMP them. He's going to be able to EMP the, well, the rest of the Protoss units too. Most notably, the Archons are really strong. Disruptors are really the only problem here that Clem will have to be dealing with. And obviously also the Colossi needs to be, they needs to be targeted down. Phoenixes can make that quite difficult, but look at the supply count right now. It is just so heavily in favor of Clem, who's really just been chilling for the most part. He hasn't played the cleanest game, but it's been more than good enough. Now, obviously, this can still change very rapidly, right? One disruptor hit can change the tide of battle real quick. MaxPax's going for a double expo. So the double expand is, yeah, here to... Even if he has to cancel this base, which he just had to do, he can still go ahead and grab the other expansion, and that might be good enough. Clem is just defending at home, slowly but surely. Certainly not feeling rushed whatsoever. He's down to play the late game if he needs to. In the meantime, Clem is, or MaxPax rather, is fishing. Fishing with a bowling ball. It's a Protoss thing. Yeah, I don't know how they survived for this long either, man. They just don't understand how fishing is usually done. But here we go. Finally, we seem to have a big engagement. As a lot of Marines are coming in, we have a couple of the disruptors trying to flank this, but there's none over here at the front. I find this a very curious decision here from MaxPax. It's a lot of chaos, but all of the disruptors are gonna have to pay the price. Some of them did get a decent detonation. You know what? That fight actually went much better for MaxPax than I thought it was going to be. That flank was very ballsy. I wonder if he should have left like 2 or... Ballsy? Hey, I think he should have left like 2 disruptors or so with the main army. So he could have done a little bit of a sandwich attack, but... Accidental puns are my favorite. If you say enough words at some point, you will accidentally be funny. Anyways, +2/+2 is going to finish up right now for Clem, who is attacked right before those upgrades kick in. Obviously, he was, well, in a really high amount of supply, so he had a bit of money to spare. He decides to stop producing workers again at 69. That is a bit of a theme. And he will finally find out about this expansion here at the far bottom of the map. Neither player really wants to commit too much. We have a nice engagement over here, though. One of the Colossi went down, but quite a few of the Vikings also took a bit of a beating. My question is mostly whether or not there is enough stuff here for MaxPax to hold on. The Marines and the Marauders are being very cost efficient. Luckily here for the Protoss player, the shield battery is still keeping a lot of these units alive. But now we're getting into that awkward phase of PvT where Protoss is like, please get hit by one of my balls. Like, please just take one of my balls to the face. Yeah, it's a weird thing. And Terran's like, no, I don't really want that. While they're slowly trying to improve their own unit composition. Now, the ultimate counter to the Disruptor is, of course, the Liberator. If you can get there, life is amazing. No cancel on that Nexus, so that's 400 minerals down the drain. MaxPax once again fishing with one of the Disruptors and tries to get a Nova. But that's I guess, the thing, right? So, most Terran players out there, at some point, will take a hit. And I feel like I have not really seen Clem take massive detonations to the face like that in a long time. I mean, we did see a couple of decent hits with that Disruptor flank earlier in this match, I suppose. But really nothing amazing, and all of the Disruptors had to pay the price. Usually in a lot of PvTs, at some point there's like a random disruptor sitting over here in the grass. It rolls a Nova forward and it catches half of the Terran bio army, right? And then suddenly, Protoss can win. But it requires a mistake from the Terran for that to be a correct setup. And I think that's a bit of a theme in a lot of the games that I've been casting lately. Clem is not making a whole lot of mistakes. Like, maybe he's making little beauty errors here and there. But overall, he's very good at just controlling the pacing of the game. You can see there's absolutely no hurry. A lot of Terran players out there tried to end the game before this point because they don't want to be playing against a fully teched up Protoss army. Especially when you also are going up against, like, say, High Templar, and you just have to deal with so many different moving parts of Protoss. It's nice to play against Stalkers and Zealots, right? Those are relatively easy to understand, but yeah, this is one of those unit compositions that's difficult to micro against, and Clem is feeling completely confident about it. He's hunting once more for the Colossi. There's only one of them yet available, though. It's set up at the bottom of the map. MaxPax once again trying to get a good hit with those disruptors. But as these bio units go down, they will be replaced with a bunch of libs, I would imagine. Liberators and Ghosts. And once the Liberators get their advanced ballistics upgrade, which is finishing right about right now, it's going to be real tough for MaxPax to kill it with, for example, disruptors. He's currently got so many disruptors. We're going up to 11 of them. How many has he lost already? He's lost 6. This man wants to play only disruptors. How many balls is too many balls, guys? That's a question you gotta ask yourself. So there is no transition here. There's no transition here from MaxPax into, for example, Tempest. Right? So that would be a decent way to try and counter some of those Sky Terran units. He is basically planning on killing all of the Liberators with Stalkers. And it can certainly work. But it once more, it seems to depend a lot on Clem making mistakes. So this is a good start, though. A Zealot warping in the main base can be quite annoying. In the meantime, there was a bit of a drop as well on the left side of the map. That mineral wall has now disappeared. No upgrades coming up in that forge anymore. We have a Dark Shrine. The Zealots, in the meantime, go into town. Caduceus reactor upgrade does finish up, so those Medevacs, they randomly got an upgrade. A couple of, well, I think it was one patch ago, actually, where they suddenly managed to get a late-game buff. I don't know why. Nobody was asking for a Medevac buff, yet here we are. Why did the Medevac get a buff? Does anybody know? I don't know. No idea. Anyways. There's still a lot of income here for Max, though. Yeah, he's finding a good opportunity here to start working on those Liberators. A lot of Vikings are up in the air, but there's very few targets for them to hit. So they decide to now fly by most of this and maybe go into the main base, land over there, target fire down whatever they can. In the meantime, that was only about a small chunk right here of that Terran army. Clem is also dealing damage to the natural expansion, and slowly but surely, he just chips away at the Protoss. MaxPax really never stood a chance. His macro is too good. His micro is too good. His game sense is too good. Where exactly do you hit Clem right now? What do you do? I'm honestly not entirely sure. What do you do in order to shut down Clem? I think the only thing you can really do is play better than him. I wonder if he's going to be able to maintain this level, right? So we have had these instances in the past where somebody comes along and just makes one of the races in StarCraft 2 look almost unbeatable, right? We have seen Clem lose a couple of games here and there. Against, for example, Raynor, he dropped a couple of maps, but that was mostly Raynor going for strange build orders, right? Like 2-base Mutas and then mass Mutas, styles that Clem hasn't really played against very much. I think those are build orders, though, that Clem is, well, by now he's probably well familiar with how you should be approaching those, even though he doesn't play against them all too much. He certainly has had a bit of practice now, and I can imagine he doesn't really lose much against that anymore either. We'll have to see, of course, only time will tell, but it is interesting to me. Sometimes we have players coming up and they suddenly just seem to, take a significant step forward and they seem better than everybody else. How long will they be able to maintain that? So I know there are some people, for example, when Serral first came up, that called Serral a patch Zerg. Because the patch was pretty good for Zerg at the time, and they were like, he's a patch Zerg, he's never gonna be here to stay. And then, well, about 6 years later, Serial is still winning the majority of the tournaments that he enters. I'm sure there will be folks out there too that will be, yeah, saying similar things right now about Clem. Now, obviously, Clem has been around. Really, we're gonna be taking the base over there, of all places. So his natural's getting blocked. Sorry, I'm rambling onwards here about other things. Okay, so the NG Bay block, normally you take the third base over there, or you take the expansion a bit later. Clem decided to send in a CV the long way around, build an NG Bay, canceled the NG Bay, now force the opponent to take this base. Interesting. Anyways, so what I was trying to say, Clem, he's been around for many years, and he's been steadily on the up and up and up. There's a very good chance that this isn't even Clem's final form. How old is Clem right now? Clem is currently 22. He's 22. How long does your, like, brain still technically develop and all that? I think it maxes out, right? At like 25, 26 or so? I'm over the hill already. Anyways, there's a very good chance Clem is actually gonna get better. One of the things that Clem struggled with historically is tournament nerfs. So he would play much better online than he would play offline. So that's one of the things that we've seen. But that was also when he was like 19, right? I was terrified of pretty much everything when I was 19. Getting that stage experience is absolutely massive. Yeah, Clem right now, I mean, he's been getting those confidence boosts as well, right? I almost feel like that was the only thing really missing. He's been doing well in tournaments over the last year and a half or so, and he's been getting better and better and better in that department. Anyways, for now, enough fanboying. For now, I have to see how this game goes. MaxPax is somebody who grinds a ton of games. He's got a third base taken right now as his, well, very first expansion, which is a little bit annoying. Sometimes the Hellion run-bys can be annoying, and that's exactly why MaxPax has decided to plant a pylon over here. So he sees this Hellion run-by coming in from a mile away. Now, even though he technically has the counter, does he actually have the counter? Just seeing the punch coming in does not mean that you can also hold the punch. This is fine. This is all, yeah, that was actually really quite good here. So 4 Hellions for 5 probes is something very reasonable. 4 Hellions are not free. Popularly, or popular to Protoss, contrary to popular Protoss belief. There you go, that's what I was trying to say. Hellions are not free. Resource-wise, that is still just fine right there for Protoss. And obviously it slows down the follow-up quite well. Okay, so we're once more playing good old Phoenixes. Phoenixes into a ROBO facility. The only thing that's a little sketchy here is we have a couple of the adepts trying to get into the natural expansion, and they will get the job done. Alright. He's really just trying to deal whatever damage he can. Can he... Ooh, nice targeting right there. He does go back for seconds and grabs the Viking as well. Not bad at all. The only problem here for Protoss that I don't love, usually, is that his bases are very disconnected. So he's got a base over here, and then he's got a base over there. This looks manageable when you see programmers do it, but it's really freaking hard. Most of the top-tier Protosses don't actually, yeah, micro that particularly well either. If I would imagine anybody, though, feels comfortable, yeah, it would probably be MaxPax. MaxPax is really quite good at these sort of setups. And ultimately, of course, as he's now taking the expansion between the 2 bases that he's got, he should be able to connect all of the pieces back up together. Couple SCVs go down. He's still making Phoenixes. So we're just making loads and loads of Phoenixes today. I like how I started this series off saying, haha, we haven't seen a ton. And yeah, then he's... It's almost like he hurt me, even though this series was played like a week ago or so. Just taunting Lowko from the future in the past. A little bit confusing. I guess I've been watching too many Korean Protosses lately. They make me believe that Phoenixes aren't very good. Okay, so where do we go from here? Ooh, we're not gonna go into the quick Colossus. We're gonna be going into the Twilight Council. Not bad whatsoever. We've got Stimpack coming up here for Clem. We've got the Command Center in the main base. That's the third, and that one will now be growing a little orbital command head on top of itself. It is interesting how the different regions, though, have different playstyles. Obviously, the Koreans also do mix in Phoenix openers, but it's a lot more Twilight-based openers right now. Whereas MaxPax is apparently just making Phoenixes. So this is a very different follow-up from the previous game, right? So MaxPax going into what seems to be Archons, maybe even High Templar here in a moment with Storm, and then also Zealots to go alongside with it. That means you will have a lot more units. One of the problems you can sometimes run into as a ROBO man is that you have like 7 units. You have like 7 units, and it's a suboptimal strategy when you have to mix them up and split them up into different sections of the map with a gateway-based style, which is what this follow-up is. Protoss will have a lot more units to position, and it's usually a bit easier to control. Now, there's already a lot of Vikings, though. So the problem here for Clem is that he is preparing not only for the Phoenixes right now, but also for the most common follow-up, and that would, of course, be the Colossi. He's autopiloting a little bit. He needs to not make any more than this amount of Vikings right now. If he goes straight up to like 12 or even more, this is actually quite a nice catch, though. Gets 2 of the Phoenixes. Not bad. Anyways, if you autopilot and you get too many of the Vikings, you can certainly be caught off guard against the Zealot follow-up. But again, Clem apparently in no hurry. Nah, he's saying, yo, you do whatever you like. You go ahead and just start up your game plan, and I'll do a little bit of early game harassment, but then we'll see how we can, well, fight each other in the later stages of the game. Minimal amounts of scouting, just the right amount of units, and then ultimately we transition towards the ghosts, and that seems to be when Clem is once again out on the map. There's a lot of movement, though, right now for MaxPax. If you look at the minimap, there's little spots of red everywhere, whereas Clem is currently cowering in his corner. Clem going into the double upgrades here, of course. He's going to go into straight 2-2. We have an attempted engagement over here, though, at the front. One of the siege tanks accidentally blows up one of his buddies. And here come those Phoenixes swooping in, dealing a lot of damage, but not really enough stuff here for MaxPax to bring it home. There is a prism, but it's all the way over here. The Zealot run-bys and the Zealot warpins have been quite decent, but this SimCity here from Clem is not bad. Ultimately, the Warp Prism goes down, and I think there's enough units here at the front. This will be confirmed right now as well for MaxPax. Oh my god, he saw the little blur? Sorry, can I just go? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at Clem's first-person view. So this is when he sees the blur, somewhere around over here in just about 10 seconds. So this is him target firing down the Prism. This is him hold positioning that Marauder in between the structures. This is him microing a medevac. Here's the... Did you see the blur? Don't lie to me, you didn't see the blur, did you? There was a little... We knew it was coming and I still didn't see it. Now that's one of the little things, by the way, why a lot of the pro gamers like to play on the lowest graphic settings. The lowest graphic settings will still give you all of the graphical information that you need without any of the additional, well, blurs and things that are added into the mix. It's usually a bit easier to spot those sorts of things on the lowest graphics than it is on the... A lot of the pro gamers actually have like specific settings that they like to play around with. So a lot of them will play on like lowest everything, but then say like shaders all the way up to the max or something along those lines. Obviously, StarCraft 2, if you can get a 0.5% improvement by changing a bunch of hotkeys or a keyboard setup or a mouse or, for example, graphic settings, the programmers will do whatever it takes to get better. And that makes perfect sense. But you will rarely find the pro gamers playing on the highest graphics. I guess also one of the advantages, right, if you're used to the lowest graphics. So back in the day, a lot of the tournaments you would go to, they will obviously give you a computer to play on for that event. Oh, this is not great right here for Max, though. He's going to lose a bunch of these units. Gets one siege tank, but that's quite costly. He's trying to do an attack over here at the front as well, but Clem is so good at controlling all of these different parts of the battlefield, man. Ay. Anyways, back in the day, not every single tournament computer you would play on would actually be good enough to run the maximum graphics. So, obviously, getting used to a certain graphics set is yeah, also a big part of it. Okay. So there is Storm in the mix now. No, there is no Storm. Wait, where's the Storm? Max? Did we forget Psionic? Oh, he forgot Psionic Storm! I didn't even notice it because I assumed he would have it. He just tried to storm the bio units and then realized the upgrade was still grayed out. He never started up Psystorm. He forgot. Well, one of my working theories is that MaxPax is secretly a robot. But this looks very human-like. Yeah. Do you guys think that MaxPax could be a human? Do you guys think pro gamers are humans? Other than Cyril, obviously. No, I'm pretty sure that Cyril is also human. Yeah, what's next? Streamers that have legs? I don't know. My whole life has been turned upside down all of a sudden. All right, so that's a little awkward right there for MaxPax, but honestly, I don't think him backing off right there was a bad idea. Maybe it kind of worked in his favor. Obviously, you're always looking for the big storms. Good force field. This has, of course, given Mr. Clem, though, quite a bit of time to mix in the ghosts once again. An EMP is going to be lovely. There you go. All of those zealots. Look at all their shields disappearing. Like snow for the sun. Those bio units still got maximum value. And obviously, if you land an EMP on the High Templar, they will also be removing their energy. I've been noticing a bit of a YouTube comment section debate as of late. Right below the like button, there's a comment section. Did you know that? Actually, if you're on one of the other interfaces, I believe it's actually right next to the like button. Anyways, just click that one. Just letting you know. Anyways, I've noticed a little bit of a theme in the comment section as of late. That a lot of the people that watch my videos aren't the biggest fan of the Ghost anymore. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are looking at the Ghost and they're like, yeah, no, it's pretty good. Anyways, here we go. Can we get a... Yeah, we can get an EMP. Of course, this is Clem we're talking about. He's setting up even a massive concave as the units from the left side of the screen also suddenly show up. And what was looking like a pretty decent opening right there for MaxPax is a landslide victory for Clem. Getting rid of all of the energy out of those High Templar. Another Ghost. Oh my god. Another Ghost gets a wonderful EMP. The Archon goes down. The Zealots will now be... Dude, Clem is just playing out of his mind good though. Yes, I do agree that Zealots are... Or sorry, Ghosts are a little bit overtuned. But it's so smooth. I mean, a lot of the games that I watch, right? Specifically from Clem. He wins before Ghost ever hit the battlefield. I think the Ghost is a little too strong, yes. But also at the same time, most of the games he seems to win before Ghost ever hit the battlefield. At least against players that aren't MaxPax, that aren't Cyril. Here's the Liberator transition once again underway. The command center explosion is once again starting up. +1 air weapons is researching. MaxPax fishing for a medevac. Whoop-de-doo, we got one. Okay. One Zealot going around the side. I think it's safe to assume, though, and then whenever it's going to be, I think the next balance patch will probably feature a little bit of a Ghost readjustment. I didn't actually realize this, but Ghosts deal double damage to light units. So, like, every other spellcaster in the game basically does no damage. Some of them don't even have an auto attack. But the Ghost deals significant damage, specifically to light units. This little fight over here is, alright. Sorry about that, little Ghost. There was no room in the plane for you, but luckily for you, you're quite tanky. Whenever the next patch comes, I don't know. I can't tell you that. But I do think it's safe to assume we'll see a little bit of a Ghost adjustment. Probably a very minor one, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be a very significant nerf at all, but... Ooh. Ghosts are expensive, though, right? So that is the one thing to note. And at this point, MaxPax has a booming economy. 93 workers, he's taken a lot of bases, and he's denying future expansions here from the Terran player. So the idea is, as he kills another command center here too, the idea is that at some point, Clem will run out of stuff. So as long as we keep trading reasonably well, and as long as he's mining more than the Terran player and he's denying bases, he should be in a decent position in the long run. Clem though, playing this slow and steady, still maxed out. Going into the +3 here as well. We should see additional armory upgrades. Yep, there it is. Starts it up as we speak. Sentry gets EMP'd there. Like the Sentry, for example, is a spellcaster that like doesn't really deal a lot of damage. Right? Like that's... I think everybody knows that. Vipers don't deal any damage. Infestors don't deal any damage. High Templar, well, they throw little water balloons, but for all intents and purposes, they don't deal any... Ghosts! Ghosts actually deal a lot of damage with their auto attacks. Oh, maybe this Disruptor is the one. Never mind. So how does Clem make the decision there to target the first one and then run away for the second and the third? Years of experience. There's still some Liberator set up around the map as well now. A Phoenix has been produced to try and get rid of those units. And they will ultimately, get rid of these. And eventually, that means that Terran, or Protoss rather, can continue mining in these locations. Oh, Clem making a mistake. A couple of units get caught off guard. Disruptor Nova, okay. Grabbing a couple of units there. Clem probably looking at something else right there for just a moment. This Liberator over here is being so annoying, though. And this Phoenix, there's no counter against the Lib here. Right? Against the Phoenix, rather. But it still takes the Phoenix such a long time that it's still denying minutes, it seems, of mining from those bases. Planetary Fortress with Master Repair is making it hard right now for MaxPax to really get much done on that side. But he did, in the meantime, attack as well with all of these Dark Templar on the left side of the map. And I believe he may have ended up killing one of those command centers, or at the very least forced the council and a bunch of SCVs. MaxPax still with the superior economy, but at this point Clem's money is not to be underestimated. He has 8 orbital commands, so SCV kills are pretty much irrelevant. He's not even really replacing any of the lost SCVs anymore, because he's using them for additional army supply now. If he needs mining, he can just use mules. Mules don't cost any supply. He scans for this base over here on the right. Liberator goes on over in this direction. We have 6 libs coming up at the same time. Alright. Missile turret will be set up over here too. Clem now purposefully sending out his orbital commands for further out expansions, because they can be lifted, unlike planetary fortresses. So if you're fast enough, you can actually lift off against those Zealots and Dark Templar run-bys. MaxPax's gas bank is starting to worry me a little bit, but he still has got a lot of viable mineral lines and gas lines though, so he should have a relatively good income still. Dark Templar trying to kill whatever worker we can. Clem actually decides to round out his maxed supply here by building a couple more SCVs. He wants to get up to his favorite number. We usually see 69 SCVs from Clem in this matchup. But honestly, at this point, I wouldn't mind it if he just leaves it at the amount that he's got. So a lot of Protoss players, right, specifically Hero, have been mixing up their late game quite a bit. So this is what we've seen Protoss players do for a while. And I feel like it's good initially, but then it oftentimes fizzles out. Now, obviously, you can overwhelm Terran. Again, with one Liberator, or one Purification Nova, rather, you can sometimes just win the game straight up. You can reinforce this super quickly. But a lot of the other, for example, the Korean Protoss players, they've been going into a lot of Tempest and then into Carriers. I never really see MaxPax messing around with that. MaxPax very much so a fan of this. And this works great against everybody except Clem. Now, the Liberators are just bullying him around here. There's really not much he can do. He has still got the faster moving army, and he still has the bigger economy as well, right? So that's what I'm liking here for MaxPax. He's basically saying that he doesn't care about those cost-inefficient trades, because he's mining the 2 outer bases Much like what a Zerg player would do on this map against one of the very best Terrans. They try to mine more than the opponent, try to steal one of the expansions, and then ultimately they should be able to win in the long run. MaxPax just throwing away units left, right, and center. I'm wondering if he's throwing away a little bit too much. Yeah, look at the cost efficiency. This is better cost efficiency than what Clem usually gets against Zerg. MaxPax very much so though, taking a page right here out of the Zerg playbook. Just gobble up the entire map, harvest a stupid amount of resources, and then just try to swarm the opponent. But you can kind of feel this urgency, right? In the way that MaxPax is playing this. You can feel that he is trying to get stuff done fast, because he knows that if this goes on for a super long time, it might be difficult for him. Whereas, I'm getting this vibe, whenever Clem is currently playing, that he is just really chilled. He is just kind of laid back, not really too concerned. Obviously, he's actively thinking about what the next move is, but he doesn't really seem to be in a rush. Split off a bunch of his units, still has enough army over here as well to deal with the main army of Protoss right now. Runs away against the Novas, but in the meantime he shuts down one of those bases in the top right hand corner of the map. 17 probes down the drain. That now evened up the worker count very nicely. We will see MaxPax going up to 14 gates, that's really not that much. Quite common for Protosses to sit at about 20 gateways at this point in the game. He's going Mass Disruptor again. Which is, again, a very good style if Terran messes up. It kind of feels like a crossing my fingers and hope I'm gonna get a lucky hit strategy now. Clem somehow stutter-stepping 2 armies at the same time. How are we stutter-stepping 2 armies at the same time, Clem? Oh, we're also aggressively pushing in. Alright. Yeah, sure. Gets the pylon here as well. That warping gets denied. In the meantime, he's fighting over on the left side of the map too. APM going up. 700 actions a minute right now from Clem as he's macroing while also microing. He's microing his macro. He's macroing his micro. And now MaxPax has been forced to go all the way down into the Colossus tech again, which is something he never really wanted to be playing in this game in the first place. He's got a massive army of Zealots, but guess what's good against Zealots? Ghosts. 1 EMP over here kills half those Zealots, basically. There's a huge amount of resources still available for Clem as well, by the way. No urgency whatsoever. No urgency whatsoever. Takes his sweet time, finds the perfect opportunity, and then immediately shuts the trap. It's so dominant. Like, this game was going well for MaxPax, no? Didn't we see him having like 8 bases versus the Terran 6 a couple minutes ago? We may have to do, yeah, maybe like a specific Clem nerf. Like maybe like, I don't know, something to his index finger. No, that's not right. Oh, you know what we can maybe do? So Serral has gotten nerfed a little bit because he had to go off to the military, right? And the same can be said for the Korean pro gamers that were very dominant historically. At some point, they had to go and do their mandatory military service. Can somebody get Macron on the line? No, I don't think my French viewers would really appreciate that very much. No. Clem can keep playing for many, many years to come, hopefully. And I can imagine he's only gonna get better. I can imagine there's really no way that he's gonna get worse, right? Genuinely though, when you think about it, at 22 years old, you should still be able to climb up, right? You should still be able to get better. Obviously, there have been many instances of athletes that, and yes, I consider esports players athletes. There have been many instances of athletes, you know, peaking in their early 20s maybe, or maybe like late teens even, but I feel like for example, a game like StarCraft, there's still a lot of progress to be made at this point in time. Maybe in an RTS game too in the future. I know that Clem was dabbling with a little bit of Stormgate, and he's tried out, well, whatever's out there. We don't know too much about MaxPax, of course. MaxPax, very much so somebody who's gotten a lot better. So MaxPax is quite a mysterious man. Doesn't really share anything about his personal life. He doesn't go to offline tournaments. All we know, at least if his Liquipedia is correct, and I don't even really know if it is, but all we know is that he's born in, I think, July 2004? That's all we know about MaxPax. Did he just shift the SCV over here to... Did he just try to kill the SCV with that SCV... Or, sorry, that probe with the SCV shift? Hold up, so he's dancing over here. He starts up the command center, and one of the SCVs goes zooming through the structure, and he pulls that SCV off of the structure immediately, and pulls the other SCV... Hold up. Did I just see that correctly? So he's trying to get the SCV kill, or the probe kill here. He targets it? Yeah. He was hoping that the... So you can't control that, by the way, where the... Like, the worker unit appears when you're building a structure. There's no control over that. But he was hoping that he was going to be able to slide to the far left of the structure there, and then, well, maybe kill the probe on its way home. Cute little play. Haven't quite seen that before. Didn't work out this time, but not bad whatsoever. Yeah, MaxPax, though, is still certainly getting better as well. Very, very strong player. And he should still be, at 20 years old, right? He should still be able to get significantly better, too, over the next couple of years. Okay. I hope for MaxPax that at some point he will go to offline tournaments. Honestly, since he didn't go to the EWC, I don't think he will ever go to an offline StarCraft 2 tournament, to be honest. It's a bit of a Rockstar thing to do in my mind, because guaranteed $15,000 for the EWC. And if we take into consideration the club championships and salaries and everything else, I think MaxPax basically declined like probably a $50,000 weekend. It's yeah, it's a lot. In comparison, in case you've missed a little bit of that tournament, Clem won 450 grand in one event. Because he, well, won the EWC. And I don't think MaxPax is the favorite going into a series against Clem, but I think he's the favorite against literally any other Terran. So anyways, since MaxPax decided to not go to the EWC, I don't think he's ever gonna go to any of the offline tournaments in StarCraft 2, unless there's like something that he's waiting for, or I don't know. We get to enjoy him, I guess, in these online matches, but there's a very good chance MaxPax would, at the very least, get into like a top 4 or maybe a top 8 situation. I think that's quite realistic. That being said, like I mentioned, Clem historically has struggled in offline tournaments. He's been very good online. For example, during COVID, when all of the events were online, Clem was destroying everybody. But then we went back to offline events again, right? Where you're not playing from the comfort of your home. And he didn't seem quite as dominant. But nowadays, he really managed to get that experience under his belt as well, right? So that is something, like, if MaxPax ever goes to offline events, that would be something that MaxPax would have to, well, learn. Some players just naturally have that. I don't remember a time period where Cyril wasn't good at offline events. Can he get the Adept? He will. Yeah, I don't remember a time period where Cyril wasn't good at it, but there's a chance, I guess, that even if MaxPax would go to offline tournaments, that initially he would underperform. Anyways, wouldn't mind drop attempted, as we do have a different build this time around. No Phoenixes here from MaxPax. It hasn't really worked in the first 2 games, although I don't think that was the reason why he lost. Either way, he's mixing it up a little bit here with a quick Stalker build. This has been 2 gateways. Straight into... Ooh, gets a nice flit right there by Max, but still quite a bit of damage. Gets one of the Stalkers. This has been a triple Nexus opener here by MaxPax with only 2 gateways, so technically a little greedy. but he can get away with it, especially on Golden Aura, which is a really nice map to play defensively on. (2-1-1) right here for Clem. Gonna be going into the Stimpak, the combat shields, and then also the +1 infantry weapons. The holy trinity of Terran upgrades. Stim, combat shields, and +1. Raven is gonna start bullying Protoss a little bit. Widowmine drop was already a bit of a bully, and this is exactly why Protoss players do sometimes open up Phoenixes. Because this is the type of stuff that you never have to deal with, right? So Clem is gonna hang out here for a long time. Unless he all army hotkeys and he accidentally pulls that unit away. Oh my god, blink, blink. Okay, thank you. Unless he accidentally all army hotkeys, but I don't think Clem really does that. He's just going to accumulate energy and then occasionally throw a little auto turret down. And this is annoying because it's gonna get a couple kills every time. Yeah, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, right? Depends on how much is going on at the same time in the meantime, but you just throw that thing down, and a Raven can continuously accumulate kills. It's quite common that we see a Raven getting like 15 kills. It will just hang out here, sometimes even more than that. It will just hang out. A couple of the Stalkers here trying to get work done, but yeah. Obviously, the map layout was nice for MaxPax in securing the 3rd base, and the same can be said here for Clem. It's difficult for Protoss to really get anything done here with the Stalkers. Because of that, though, because there are a bunch of Protoss units out on the map, Clem has decided to try his luck. Rather than go for a big attack with bio units, we're just gonna send all of the stuff that we have in Medivix. Well, all of the stuff we're willing to commit anyways. He needs to have a decent counter against this Stalker build as well. And that's exactly what he's doing. Robo Bay on the back of this. 3rd command center though, flying on down to the low ground. MaxPax sieges up the little observer, and he will be able to get some work done. Now, there was a little bit of vision up north. MaxPax really making sure that he is prepared against these sort of pushes. Gets one of the siege tanks. Yep. At the cost of a couple Stalkers, but I think that's alright. Especially because this is delaying the follow-up here from Clem quite a bit. Oh, do we have enough to fight this right now? Nice. Force fields. Although a couple of the units do indeed get snatched up by that medevac. Nexus starts up in the meantime. Yep, and as soon as the Terran wants to move out, the Protoss moves in. Well, would you look at that? Clem actually caught off guard a little bit, right? Actually not fully prepared against all of this. Not that I'm not liking this position for him. Oh. That was a millisecond away from completing. Anyways, I quite like this this setup here for MaxPax, but then you glance at the supply count and you realize that even though this is a pretty good setup here for Protoss, he will still need to address a very significant amount of Terran. And once more, the dreaded Ghost is coming up. Medevac drop attempted over here. Like, the thing is, Clem is not making any overly obvious mistakes, right? Like, every time, yes, he lost a siege tank, but he also did get, like, 3 Stalkers. Sure, he may have not gotten any damage done with, like, the probe kills with the Widowmine drops, but he still got a Stalker, right? Like, he's still getting little bits of value. Love the Widowmines over here, preventing any charge slots from getting into this direction, right? So that siege tank is well protected. Is there enough for Clem to actually just overwhelm this straight up right here, right now? Killing the Nexus would already be massive. Here come the Zealots still. They're going to try and see if these Widowmines can maybe deal some friendly fire. But Clem already got what he came for. In the meantime, by the way, the Raven, yeah, still has a bit of energy too. 9 probes have gone down over here. I don't think Clem is going to be able to win with this army. But this is what I'm talking about. These are the type of fights where he didn't actually use any ghosts yet. And the ghosts are gonna be joining the battlefield right about right now. MaxPax does not have a counter against ghosts. Technically, you can EMP. So High Templar could be used against the ghosts, but High Templar feel really derpy. So instead, his best goal, I guess, is to go and maybe into like Disruptors or for example, Dark Templar or just a whole lot of Zealots and Stalkers. But if you want to play that style, you need to have the economical advantage, which at this point he doesn't. He restarts the 4th Nexus, sure. In the meantime, Clem has started up his own 4th Command Center as well. Clem is going into 2-2, not dropping a beat in that department, going into Barracks 6, 7, and 8. He's going to be scouting up north as well to see if there's any Zealot run-bys coming in from that angle. MaxPax just fishing for whatever he can get, loses a couple probes again. 11 kills right now on that Raven. And this is Clem cruising. All he needs to do is, well, finish up the 2-2 and go for another push. Max out before that point, or maybe try to defend whatever Protoss has got in store for you. Now, obviously, you will have to avoid the splash damage. Currently, though, we have, yeah, just Colossi, which is not really that big of a deal. He's got 2 starports, so he's making 4 Vikings at the same time, which is exactly what he needs. And even though there's Dark Templar on the horizon, I don't think Dark Templar are very scary here for Clem at this point in time, because MaxPax doesn't really have that many units. So if he warps in too many DTs, he's not going to be able to hold whatever attack. You know, things are getting quite desperate when it's a 2 Zealot run-by. Like, this is indirectly a really good tell right there for Clem. Couple more Zealots trying to go around the site, but reinforcing Terran units should be able to get rid of that. There are now, yeah, 3 Colossi. I think he was making a 4th, but he decided to cancel it. Okay. Couple Dark Templar. Trying whatever they can to delay this push. But here's the 2-2 finishing up for Terran. Infantry weapons level 2. He did start up the correct upgrade, by the way, this time around. A little bit of crisis management in the meantime at home. But he's also fighting at the front. So Clem using his reinforcing units to try and see if he can defend against the Zealots and the Dark Templar, whilst absolutely destroying this army. The Vikings land on the ground as well, now that the Colossi are no longer a problem to deal with. 5th Command Center starts up 2 here for Clem. He never needed that one. Absolute domination coming out of the world champion. Insane.